What is up, guys? Welcome back to Wild Rift University. This is thing one with an exciting video for you. We are going to have a really cool subject here that I think is extremely relevant to a lot of people. We're going to talk about throwing games, but we're going to talk about throwing games that you're ahead and there's no reason you should have lost. Like, do you ever have those games where you go in and the game's starting off great, you're winning, you're like, oh, this looks like it's going to be an easy win, but then all of a sudden you lose. And then you look back on that game and you're like, how the heck did I lose that game? And that's basically what we're going to talk about this game, how these things happen, okay? And I actually kind of want to start off with just one thing. Morgana Jungle it's not that good anymore, unfortunately. It super sucks for me because if you guys don't know, so last season I was ranked technically the number 13 Morgana, but I technically also had the 5th best win rate NA. So I consider myself the fifth best Morgana, because who really cares if the other people above me are better than me, but they have like a 5 and 10% win rate less than me. So this game I don't actually play particularly well. I don't play horrible, but I don't play well. I do put some of it on the fact that Morgana just isn't, I don't feel, as good as she used to be in the jungle. But I also do put some of it on my decision makings. So what are typically the biggest things that cause you to throw a game that looked like it was in the bag? Because as you see, we even got first blood on the Kayle, which is exactly what we want. Well, typically from my experience, the biggest things that I see in these situations are when people are so focused on getting kills, they're not focused on pushing objectives. All their mindset goes around like, I have an early lead and I just want to get kills and I just want to get kills, and they allow the other team to stick in the game. They don't spend time actually pushing objectives and pushing their lead. Instead, they just completely focus on like, oh, how can I get kills? How can I, just get more gold? A lot of times people, when they get really far ahead, they get into this mindset of like, oh, I need to complete my build and just build more and build more and build more and build more, rather than just close out the game. And this is a really difficult thing to do, especially when you're going against a team comp like the one we're going against. So if you look at our team, you'll see one thing, okay? We're pretty early game. Our team is designed to beat them early, and we do end up beating them early. But look at their team. They have an Akali, they have a Kha'Zix, they have a Tristana, they have a Yuumi, and they have a Kayle. A lot of these champions are insane late game. They just have extremely strong late game. And if the game goes too late, there's just no way that we can personally continue to fight these champions. And so I'll also talk about a little bit, like, how do you try and counteract this from happening? But like I said, a lot of this video is going to be talking about showing you how it happens. So that way, when you start to see these signs in your game, you'll know how to correct them. Because I'm going to go over like how to correct these things as well. So like I said, my initial thought process in this game is obviously, yeah, I want to get ahead early, but I also realized like I'm super weak. And this was only my second time playing Morgana Jungle since the update. And so the first time I played her, I told myself, nope, she's trash. I'm not going to play her again. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it one more try and just see what happens. And then after playing this game, I don't think Morgana Jungle is good anymore. Oh, and then also, guys, I am currently Vanquisher 1. So we are finally climbing. I stopped ranking up for a little while because I literally took 4 days at one point to find a game. Like, I basically stopped searching because over the course of 4 days, each day I looked for about 2 or 3 hours and couldn't find a game. So I was like, this is just pointless. And I goofed around, played friends, played ARAMs, played PvPs, and played a couple ranked games. But yesterday and the day before, I was actually able to find games for the first time in like over the last 6 days, basically. Okay. So right down here, getting back to the game. So kind of what the initial error that Mundo had is he didn't have wards out. Okay, like obviously if he would have had some wards out, he would have been fine. So here I'm obviously backing early because I want to be able to get to the jungler. I immediately get orb because I'm like, okay, we're going against a team with lots of heals, so I want to have orb in order to fight. I'm asking my team to put vision on the rift, but they're not doing it. And here I'm like telling my team, hey, start the dragon right away, but my team runs away. So we would have had the dragon basically already halfway dead before their team even arrived. Now their whole team has basically rotated while our Mundo is still bot lane. So I'm not terribly worried because our early game is still stronger than theirs. But unfortunately, as you see, the Kayle gets behind us and just really screws us up. And then what's even worse is for some weird reason, our Ashe backed right as it came. So like completely put us in just an absolutely terrible situation. Just right off the bat. Like we had our ADC and our support right on top of the dragon before they got there. They could have started it easily and we would have had it halfway done, and they wouldn't even had their team in position to contest. But instead, they back up to lane, and then our ADC backs, putting us in, just like I said, a really difficult situation. And like honestly, that dragon was the most important dragon for our team to have. And the reason why is because we're a tanky team comp. Having the tanky team comp with the mountain dragon would make us even harder to kill late game, which is what we really need against this team comp. So here, as you can see, like we're fighting our early game pressure just like we should be. Like this is what we should be doing. We should be fighting. We should be being aggressive and everything. We should be pushing our lead because we are much stronger. And that's exactly what we're doing. Like we're pushing towers. So like other than that, like first back, like this right here is exactly what we should be doing. The Mundo's side pushing the lanes and everything, and then we go right back to farming. Here the Ashe and the support should be immediately heading towards the top tower to start putting pressure on that top tower as well. Realistically, like me, what I should be doing right now is I should also be pushing up that top tower with them because we want to keep immediate aggression. But I kind of go into farming mode, and this is something that a lot of people struggle with when they have like these late game champions. They go into farming mode, and kind of like the thing, my other thought process was, I think we probably could have pushed that side top tower. I don't know if we could have got it, but we definitely could have got a lot of damage on it. So I think it's kind of like it's not a bad thing that I didn't push, but I think we could have pushed and definitely got some damage on it. But being the fact that my entire jungle was up on both sides, I kind of felt like, hey, farming is the better decision for me right now. So that way I can continue to try and push the lead that I have, okay? But I also wish I would have rotated here a little bit sooner. Like I said, I don't think I played the cleanest game here, and I definitely do blame myself a little bit for this game. I think I could have been far more aggressive in pushing with my team. Like right here, as you just saw, our top lane and our mid lane were mid lane with the wave pushed. We easily could have probably got just a little bit of poke on there. That would have been a 2v2 because we know we killed one and we saw the ADC and support top. Or I'm sorry, no, I'm just going to call it top. So I know technically ADC supports bot lane, but I'm just going to call it as you see it on the map. So we really had an opportunity to get some free tower chip damage because it was a 2v2. It was Mundo and the Teemo, who, as you can kind of see, are both kind of strong right now. Teemo's 2-1, and then the Mundo's 1-1-2. So we have an early game strength on them, but for some reason we don't push. And so this is where it starts to happen. Like that was the first sign. Like we paused aggression. And like I said, part of the pause of aggression I can definitely blame on myself. You know, I could have not farmed and just continued to push, but I did kind of look at myself as I'm a late game champion. But instead of the fact that what I should have done, instead of playing to my strength, I should have realized my team is strong and they're early game champions. So I'm going to sacrifice more and fight with them so that way my early game team can push more. But I didn't do that. So here, like I'm wanting to push, but you know, the Teemo and all of them are wanting to go top lane. I don't really feel like we really had to go top lane right there. But that's where my team's going, so I go over there to try and back them up. And like watching this game, this is the first time I've watched the game, so I'm trying to give you guys live reactions to what my thoughts are. I can tell definitely that I'm too focused on my gameplay style than I am focused on the gameplay style that needs to happen. I just talked about this a second ago. Yes, I'm a late game champion. Yes, I need to scale. Yes, I need to buy a lot of items and everything in order to become strong. But I'm sacrificing my team's early game, and the other team is clearly just trying to stall and farm as much as they can to get in the game. Right now, we have a 5K gold lead. A 5K gold lead. And their team is super late game. So, like, we're extremely trying. I was so mad that I accidentally didn't get that because, like, if I would have got that Rift, I would have used it so much better. I always hate it. And then here, they just do such a good job once again. Like, they corner our whole team, but I think we actually do turn this fight around, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we did turn this fight around. That's right. I couldn't remember at first. What am I doing? Why am I not going on? Oh, yeah, I was worried about the oh, yeah, and I didn't have Smite. That's why. I remember. I was pinging them off right here because I didn't have Smite, and I thought this was really risky. So right here, like, we should all be pushing top, which is exactly what we're doing, trying to get that top tower off right away. I see the Teemo's fighting, so I'm actually trying to get back to the Teemo to try and help him out real quick. That's the only reason I stopped pushing the top lane. Honestly, I think going back to Teemo was the right call because they clearly, as you can see, had the top lane tower already locked up, and they didn't really need me to push with them. So going back there and trying to establish lane priority was definitely the right thing. So right now, look at the game again. It's 36,000 gold to 44,000 gold. We have a massive gold lead. We have an 8K gold lead. Like right now, we just need to be pushing and being super aggressive, but kind of watch how the game starts to unfold from this point. Like, we kind of get into stalemates. And basically, how we get into these stalemates and how this sort of happens, a lot of times when you're facing teams with a lot of late game champions, a lot of people get really scared and nervous that they're going to feed those champions, and then they're going to scale. So they play super scared, cautious, and passive because they're trying not to feed those champions. But the thing of the matter is, like, you do need to be aggressive because if you don't be aggressive, they're going to utilize that time to just play passive and farm because they know as soon as they hit that late game, it's GG. It's GG because it's just mathematically your champions can't output the damage. And I said right here, unfortunately, the Ashe utilized the Rift beforehand. Like, she should have held on to it longer. I don't think she should have used it right there. But unfortunately, I didn't get it, which was just super annoying as well. So what I think probably would have been the better way for us, like, yeah, we wanted to push that mid. We had a good push there. But I think it probably would have been nice, like, instead of all of us pushing mid right there, we could have had one person push an opposite lane instead. And then that way we could have easily taken, like, 2 towers at the exact same time. So, like, right now you can see our Ashe is super strong. Our Ashe is 4-0-3. Teemo's 3-2-3. Our Mundo's 3-1-3. Our support is 0-5-0. And then I'm 0-1-6. So I'm just basically being a support. So right here, watch how, I need to pause this. This is one of the biggest mistakes, and in my opinion, right here is where the game, and you can even see it on the little mini map or the little timer right here, the game completely changes. So our Teemo and Mundo were pushing bot lane in order to try and get tower pressure, which was totally fine. But because we're so far ahead, they had to send a lot of people down there to contest. And if I remember correctly, there was like 3 people down there or something like that, 3 or 4 people down there. So the Ashe right now has mid lane completely pushed out, and I'm pushing top lane, okay? With the right decision here, and this is what keeps happening in this game. The team was so focused on fighting rather than pushing aggression. Like, the Teemo and the Mundo did their job. They distracted the team to one side of the map. The Ashe has a free mid tower, and if the Ashe holds mid, then this Tristana wouldn't have been able to engage on me here because she would have had to hold mid. So it would have given the Tristana decision, defend the mid tower or lose the top tower. But because the Ashe thought it would have been a better idea to walk to the complete opposite side of the map rather than push mid lane, it gave the Tristana the okay to cut me off instead. And like I said, this right here, from this point on, it triggers just a downfall, okay? These little decisions, you guys, make a huge difference. Like I said, if that Ashe continued to push mid, well, first of all, the Akali and the Kha'Zix and the Yuumi, no way they can get back to mid before she can take the tower. And like I said, Triss has to stay mid, otherwise she gives up a free kill, or I mean a free inhibitor tower. And then here, I kind of mess up my build, or I really screw myself here as well. Like, so we just kind of go into a plethora of bad decisions. So I thought the fight was going to continue to push down towards me, so I buy teleport, prolonging my build even more, and just screwing myself even more when I'm already behind, and giving the Tristana more kills. Now the Tristana's starting to get scaled because she's starting to get fed. As you can see, the Tristana's 5, 2, and 1. Okay? Now imagine what the game would look like if we just would have pushed mid like we should have, allowed the Mundo and the Teemo to just do their job, distract. Okay? But that didn't happen. And this all goes back to understanding when to trade and what team fights you can actually be at and engage at. The Ashe didn't understand that, like, it didn't really make sense for her to rotate to the opposite side of the map. It made more sense for her to, sorry here, guys. I'm talking. It made more sense for her to stay mid and keep pressure mid. But a lot of times what happens in these games, kids get hyper-focused on, like, oh, I have to team fight, I have to team fight, I have to team fight. And they don't focus on, like, okay, what is the actual objective that needs to happen? And so, like, here, once again, our team just basically, for free, gives up the dragon. I ult in because, like, I was expecting my team to fully go in, and then I just get owned. I said, that flash for me was just, like, it was a completely troll flash by me. Like, there's no reason I should have flashed in there, but basically what had happened is I got super frustrated that our team just gave up the fire dragon for free, that we didn't even, like, try and contest it. And they kind of did a really cool strategy. Like, they had 3 people hard engage us and fight us, while the jungler basically just killed the tower real fast. Or I mean the dragon real fast. And so now, as you can see, they've basically killed our whole team 2.5 times, and they've now taken a fire dragon and 4 towers in the past, like, 4 minutes. Okay? The game completely flips around. And this all happens just because instead of pushing our lead, we went into a fight mode, okay? And like I said, I know it's and like this, to maybe some people, because this is a little bit more of a high elo game, this is Vanquisher 1 elo right here. A lot of people are like, wow, that was just one rotation. But that one rotation opened up the whole game, okay? So at higher elos like this, kids know how to take advantage of that. Like, oh, you messed with that one rotation, and we got that one good cleanup on all of you guys for that. Now I can snowball this lead. At some lower elos, they may not be able to do that as well, but it's that concept, okay? It's that concept, guys, that make a big difference. So now our team's like, okay, let's try and group up. But the problem is now, even though we're trying to group up, now they're scaling. they're actually ahead of us in gold, guys. Remember at one point we were like over 8,000 gold. Now we can't win team fights anymore. Even if we want to group. Now the teams wanting to group, they're wanting to push, but it doesn't really matter because the Tristana's scaling. The Kale's starting to scale. We can't match their damage. They can all in us. We only have really 3 champions that do damage and then 2 front lines who are just going to get blown up basically every single fight. So, like, we're kind of stuck in between, like, a rock and a hard place now, okay? And then the other thing that we kind of do poorly is, well, first of all, I blame a lot of this team fight on me. Like, I did not position very well at all in this team fight. So I do blame some of this on myself. So yeah, kind of got distracted. I was thinking about how the fact that I blame some of this on myself. So here we make another big mistake. We have a free inhibitor tower, and we need to even out pressure. That's what we really needed to do in this situation. We needed to even out pressure. Because the problem this game was the pressure. We should have just taken that free inhibitor tower. Instead, we go for Baron because we had 4 down. We all thought, oh, this should be free. We should be able to get this. And we were kind of underestimating the power of the Tristana. I didn't think there was any way this Tristana was going to go in on us right here. I said, we get it, but then what happens? The Tristana goes all in, and she basically just blows our team up right here. Like, our Mundo died, and now we only have Baron on 2 people instead of 3 people. Now, this wouldn't have happened, though, if our Teemo wouldn't have ran away. If the Teemo would have just stayed, blinded her, then we would have been able to blow her up. But just really bad teamwork. As I said, one bad thing after the other, it kind of escalates. But we have the Baron buff. I still think what we should have done is taken that mid tower. Now, basically, what happens is we have a situation where we actually can win the game again. All right? And we just needed to stall them off this dragon rather than actually fight the dragon. But we unfortunately don't do that, and we just allow them to kind of like jump all in here. Here, the Trist is just hard zoning me off. I can't get in. Oh, I'm sorry, I do get in, but I just get out smited. I apologize. I couldn't remember the situation. I knew it was pretty close. And unfortunately, that smite basically costs us the game. Because now they have the Elder Dragon. Our Baron buff is just completely gone now. Like, nobody basically has Baron buff anymore. And that they wouldn't have been able to, like, really... Sorry, it's not switching. I'm clicking it, but it's not switching. But they wouldn't have been able to... they wouldn't have been able to push that Baron the way they did if our Mundo didn't die. And the Mundo wouldn't have died if the Teemo would have just stayed and fought with me and the Mundo, basically. So he got blown up. Because all we needed was the blind. If we have the blind, we basically blow up the Tristana. But do you guys see kind of like how these just small mistakes make a huge difference? Just these tiny little mistakes that our team made have completely altered this game, where we had over an 8,000 gold. And it all stemmed from not understanding when to rotate, when not to rotate. I guarantee you guys, if you look back at your games and you see that, like, instead of actually like pushing your advantages, you're just rotating to team fights all the time, it's costing you games. Because kills are not what equate to wins. But our team got in a look for kills mentality versus a look for objectives mentality. Because you have to understand that, like, when your game is on a timer. And like I said, right now our team is trying to push in, but like we really can't do anything because as soon as the Tristana shows up, they have so many bursty champions, they're easily just going to burst us over and over and over again because like basically all their champions can like one-shot our carries. And as soon as they have our carries down, there's nothing our tanks can really do, okay? And it's hard for 2 tanks to peel off this many people when we're this far behind as well. And then we all basically just get cut off. Like, our tanks are in the jungle chasing a Yumi, well, basically all of us are trying to fight the carries. And it just allows them to push. Okay, like so that team fight was kind of lost because our tanks went the other way. But I wanted to show you guys this game. I said it isn't really the prettiest game by any means, but it brings up a really important concept that a lot of people just, even in high elo, they do not understand at all. I mean, most people do not understand these concepts at all. Learning to trade, like, think how differently this game would have been if we just would have pushed mid. Because if they would have pushed mid, like I said, the Tristana would have had to stay. The Tristana wouldn't have got those kills, or wouldn't have gotten the kill on me, and then would have rotated around and got extra kills. I probably would have gotten that top tower, or maybe the Tristana chose to push against me, and if she chose to push against me, then the Ashe gets the mid tower, and then we have pressure going in the middle of the map, and which is confining one of their champions to have to hold mid while we're able to push other objectives. These little things, and then if our Teemo decides to stay and fight with our tanks and me, maybe we win those fights as well. And then they don't get the Elder Dragon because we don't lose a tank right off the bat. I said, so many small little mistakes that look like small mistakes that don't matter, but at the end of the day, they're the difference between winning and losing. And then what happens? They just shut out the game. They just shut out the game completely. And I want to show you guys this because you really see it when you look at the graph. Look at this graph. I said, all this fall started to happen right before the Fire Dragon. It's literally right before the Fire Dragon. Because you see that's the Fire Dragon right there. Right at like the 17-minute mark. Because they got the first dragon, we got the second dragon, and the third dragon. Okay? And where did the cascade of the game happen? You can see it right there. Okay? Right at the top, right where it starts to tilt. That's about right at the time that the decision to not push mid happened, okay? And I'm not blaming the Ashe for the loss. We didn't not win just because the Ashe didn't push mid. We didn't win because of a collective of bad decisions, bad pushing, bad macro management, okay? But the overall reason why we didn't win is because our team was more so focused on team fighting and getting kills rather than pushing our lead. And then once they, and like I said, part of the other reason was, if you go back to what I was saying, a lot of times when people are playing these really late game team comps, they just want to completely dominate them because they're so much stronger early. And then once the game starts to even out a little bit, they also get in this phase of like being scared of like, oh, I can't push too hard because I don't want to get them fed. And we fluctuated from that. First, all we were doing was killing. Then we kind of let them back into the game. And then we're like, we're still stronger, but they're almost stronger than us. We have to be super careful, and we can't really push them because if we push them, then they're going to get even more fed, and then we won't be able to. And all that happens just because we don't utilize aggression properly and understand that, like, hey, we're stronger. They can't beat us early. If our tanks just stay in front of us and then we just continue to poke and do damage, we will just beat them out. Because as you can see, like, other than Tristana, we completely smoked their team. And like I said, I didn't actually have the best game this game. So I do put a lot of the blame on myself. My team played really well. I won't be playing Morgana Jungle really anymore, unfortunately, which is really sad because I have like a 62 or 63% win rate on her. But unfortunately, she just doesn't work well in this new patch. But anyways, guys, I hope these concepts help you. I hope you learn from them. I hope they make sense. I'll see you guys in the next video.